That's it, our side.
All right, it is now noon Pacific time, 3 p.m. Eastern time, 2 o'clock in Chicago. With
That's
me
right.
from Chicago is Mr. Dennis Blitz, the
Hello.
founder of the IRA Club. Uh, just below me in the camera shot is Colonel Fred Dumar, retired Colonel Special Forces. And my name is Aaron Adams. Fred and I are broadcasting from our offices in Idaho, where it's nice and warm. And Dennis is from his offices in Chicago. We appreciate that you've taken the time to join us, whether you're watching this live or whether you are watching the recorded version that we sent out to you because for some reason you were unable to join us. We do have a $99 offer today, and if you're watching the recorded version, that's going to be good to go for you as well. So all you have to do is use the code that we're going to give out towards the end of the hour to take advantage of that. So we're really excited about both the content that we have for you today. If you do have any questions, Fred will be monitoring the chat bar and will let us know if there's questions that we should bring up for answer for everyone. And we'll also give you, if you have any questions logistically, if you're watching a recorded version of this, Fred at alpinecapitalsolutions.com is the email address to use. And he can help you out with anything related to that. We do have a ton that we want to cover today. Many of you are joining us from maybe an ad that you got on your Facebook or your social media, talking about learning to invest your money that's in your 401k or in your IRA and owning real estate with it. And so we're going to spend quite a bit of time explaining that for you today. Let me give you a little bit of background on who I am and who Dennis is so that you can understand what we do for a living, because neither of us are professional seminar speakers or professional speakers, although both of us have spent a lot of time in front of groups of investors educating them. I'm on the real estate side, and Dennis is a trustee. And so one of the reasons that Dennis and I have worked together now for almost a decade, we have hundreds and hundreds of clients that have been interested in taking their IRA or their 401k and owning property inside the IRA. And so Dennis and his company help them structure that. They help them set up the accounts. They help them make sure that they do it correctly, transfer the funds over, fund it in, and then they turn around and buy property from me. I sell properties currently in 5 markets across the U.S., Dallas, Kansas City, Charlotte, Indianapolis, and Idaho. We sell turnkey properties to investors, meaning we sell properties that are fixed up, rented out, and performing. We manage those properties for our clients. So we have a lot of investors who would like to diversify some of their IRA, their 401k, into real estate. They're interested in buying property. And so over the last decade or so, as Dennis and I have met those investors, that's how we've worked together to help them accomplish that. And we realized that there's just so many people, I hear it monthly. I just had no idea that my IRA could own property. I had no idea that my IRA could loan money. I had no idea that my IRA could invest in a business. I thought it all had to be in the market. That Dennis and I made the decision to put this education together for investors so that in an hour you can get an overview and decide if this is something that you would like to pursue. And the package that we have for you today is really fantastic. For $100, you can get that account set up. You can get a copy of Dennis's book. There's a whole series of trainings that we've put together for you to get all the specifics on this, and we'll break that down for you in a little bit. Now, Dennis, let me shoot over to the website, and off to the right of us is the IRA Club, which is the name of Dennis's company, iraclub.org. This is their home webpage. And so if at any point, we're going to refer to this website several times throughout the next hour. And interestingly, a lot of people say, well, why is it a club? If Dennis is a trustee, if Dennis has hundreds of millions of dollars flowing through these trust accounts, Fred has his retirement money with the IRA Club. I have mine, my kids have theirs, my wife has hers. Why are they a club? That sounds like it's a niche kind of offering. And Dennis, maybe you could explain a little bit of how IRA Club was started and how it came to be named that.
Well, thank you. IRA clubs really started as a club. I started as a self-directed IRA myself quite a few years ago because I thought this was really a a wonderful way to diversify your tax-free income. And when I did that, that was, quite a few years ago, and there were very, very few people who were doing it. And so I was looking for other folks that had self-directed IRAs and what were they doing. And so literally I started a club here in Chicago called the IRA Club, and people who had self-directed IRAs were invited, and we would get together and sit around and have coffee and talk about what each person was doing and learn from each other. Well, the IRA Club really became fairly popular with people who had self-directed IRAs, and slowly I started fielding questions and answering questions for other people, and I realized, well, this is kind of a business almost, and just kept calling it the IRA Club because the IRA, it started as a club, it remained as a club, and we still really treat each person that has an account with us, as a member. And we're, we don't look at them as, let's see how much money we can, make from them. We look at them as, hey, this is a person that's doing what we're interested in, and we're going to share what we know and give them our best guidance.
Now, Dennis, in your previous life, you actually, and I think it's significant, you authored 12 books, right?
12.
12
Yeah,
books,
12.
owned the publishing company, but the books that you wrote about were actually significant, and they feed into your current ownership of IRA Club. Maybe you can talk about that for a minute.
Yeah. Well, I spent my whole career writing about security laws, security regulation, and security compliance. When you become a security professional, and whether it's a stockbroker or you manage a brokerage office or you're the financial head of a brokerage company, each of those positions have an exam, a Series 7, a Series 6, a Series 23, and on and on. I think there's 22 or 24 different exams now. And we actually got into the business of writing the exam preparation material, and the regs for people to be able to digest so that they could understand the exam material and, pass the exam, but be much more important, function in a compliant fashion. And that was what I really did for my career. So I was pretty familiar with security regulation and IRS regulation because that's what I wrote about my whole career.
Yeah, so, because I get people all the time who will say, maybe they've heard of a self-directed IRA, but they say, I like the idea of owning real estate in my 401k and my IRA. That's interesting. I'd like to diversify. But I hear it's really easy to screw it up. And I hear it's really easy to get everything disallowed, and then it blows up your whole IRA. Right? It's a common criticism that people kind of spout out. And when people work with the IRA Club, first of all, the founder, Dennis, has been writing books on securities law and compliance for several decades. But really, you protect investors from making those mistakes as a trustee with a compliance department, don't you, Dennis?
Of course, we have a compliance department that reviews every transaction, and basically we do it pretty quickly because we know what we're looking for. We've been down the path with the SEC and the the IRS, the Department of Labor, 100 times, and read all the texts and get all the bulletins. And so when you're doing it at home, when you're doing it yourself, the likelihood that you're reading the latest IRS bulletins, the latest Department of Labor bulletins, and keeping track of all the regulation changes is pretty remote. I mean, people just don't do that. And that is exactly what we do. And you need somebody to, go through those investments for you. The process of investment review generally is 24 hours, sometimes 48 hours. It's pretty quick. But if there's an error, we're going to quickly, say, hey, there's a signature left out here. There's a date left out there. There's something, missing here. They always keep you compliant.
Yeah, I can say from my own personal experience, I do a lot of real estate inside of my IRA. My wife does as well. And I would say regularly we'll submit to the IRA Club a transaction, and their compliance person will catch little mistakes or things that we did incorrectly and help us get those fixed. That's the big benefit of working with a company like the IRA Club. Now, those of you that have 401ks, IRAs right now, it's probably sitting with a company like Fidelity. And Fidelity, I have a slide here on the screen, Dennis. Fidelity manages about a third of the retirement
About a
accounts.
third of all retirement money, yeah.
So many of you, maybe you're listening to this and you have your monies being managed by Fidelity. A couple of interesting things. Fidelity was founded back in 1946 by Edward C. Johnson, and it's been for the last 70 plus years, it's been a privately held company. And so, I got to think it's got to be disconcerting to Washington, knowing that a third of Americans are being managed by a private company. We don't even know the kind of profits they're making. But one thing that we do know is we can see pretty clearly what kind of fees an investor is paying. And my experience has been is if you got $100,000 of Fidelity right now, the chances are that you're probably paying $2,000 to $3,000 a year in management-related expenses, overhead, and fees. If you got $400,000, then you're probably paying $8,000 to $12,000 a year in profits to Fidelity to administer, manage, and for fees on that account. When you do self-directed, it's only $175 to set up the account. You could take $1 million, transfer it from Fidelity to your self-directed account at the IRA Club. Dennis only charges $175. And if you bought $1 million piece of property inside that account, Dennis, what's the annual fee for that?
For a piece of property, it's $165 a year. So even take 100,000, you'd said a million, but even take $100,000 piece of property, it's 0.000165. It's an incredibly small amount to do things in a self-directed IRA.
So one of the things that we see is, if you're watching this and you have a 401k or an IRA, you may never have thought about the fact that for every $100,000 in that retirement account, you're paying thousands of dollars a year in fees because you're paying based on a percentage of the gross amount. When you go to self-directed, you're only paying flat fees. So you pay an annual fee that's a couple $100. If you have multiple properties, you're paying a couple $100 per deal. But one of the things that my clients find is when they go from a managed account like with a Fidelity over to self-directed with IRA Club, they see a 90% decrease in the amount of fees that they're paying every year. Not to mention the fact that when you look at the returns that Fidelity has made, it's like you got $100,000 with Fidelity, they're investing your money. What return are they making for you a year? It's very easy to make 5 to 10% from the rents on a rental property, 5 to 10% on appreciation. I would say of the 900 clients that we have, over 90% of them are making a double-digit return per year from their real estate investments.
Oh, yeah.
Whereas of my clients that previously had that money with the Fidelities of the world, they were rarely getting up to a double-digit return. And so not only are you seeing a reduction in fees by moving to self-directed, but you're also seeing much higher returns. And that's why, in the time that Dennis and I have been working together, we've seen a huge migration or diversification along those lines. Now, I have a slide on the screen that talks about how the wealthy Americans divide their wealth. And this is significant because I want you to think about your IRA or your 401k and what percentage is that of your net worth, right? And when the wealthy are looking at dividing up their money, they usually put about a third of their money into real estate, and that doesn't count your own home because your own home is not an investment, it's a liability. Mm-hmm. About a third of their money in the market. About a third goes into the market. And then about a third goes into a business or private equity type investment. So either the business that they own and then 10% is cash. And this is a very common allocation. For example, Yale with their endowment follows this kind of allocation: a third into real estate, a third into the market, a third into a business or a private equity investment, 10% cash. But what I find is that many investors had never even thought about this diversification because when you started your job, they gave you a 401k and Fidelity managed it, and so 100% of your money was in Fidelity. Now, why was this? Why does having 100% of your retirement money in the market? Why can that be so problematic, Dennis?
Well, of course, the market keeps correcting. I mean, we still have people who were in the dot-com bubble, which was 2000, 2001, 2002, where everything, dropped dramatically. And those people, lost 50 to 60% of their money. They're still not investing in anything. They're frozen in place because of that trauma. Of course, it happened again with the banking crisis. Many people who move to self-direction and who make an investment, people think, boy, this is going to be risky. The reality is it's the opposite, is that the investments that they make tend to be the more reliable investment. I don't want to say conservative, I want to say reliable, because if you buy a stock and the stock goes up, you're happy, but if the stock goes down, and what made it go down, I don't know, it just still did, you lose your money. However, when you buy a piece of rental property, you know what? It's reliable. The tenant has a lease. The rent comes in next month. Houses keep appreciating, and so we find that the self-directed investment is the most reliable investment. If you really want to, put everything on, red 21, go to a casino and put everything on red 21. That's I'm happy for you. But most people need to have some reliability in their return, and have a reliability that can have a double-digit return is even better.
I have a chart on the screen that shows what the history for rent has been in the U.S. going back to 2006. And the reason that I chose this was because I want you to be able to see. Let's say that look at two portfolios. You got. Let's say you had put $100,000 into a rental in 2006 versus $100,000 in a retirement account with Fidelity in the market. And when 2008 hit, the average American in the market lost 40 to 50%. So, your 401k had 100 grand in 2006. By the end of 2008, you got 50K in there. Okay. Meanwhile, over here, you spent 100K on a rental in your 401k or IRA in 2006. You were making $944 a month in 2006 on average, about the same in 2007. When the market crashed, the rents went up. Remember, when markets crash, people stop buying homes and they just rent. And so rents go up in a downturn. And it's one of the best hedges, one of the best reasons to have real estate in your retirement accounts. And you can see from 2008 all the way forward to 2017, and that's continued all the way to 2021, rents have just gone up steadily. And so maybe you were making 8% from the rents in 2006. Now in 2021, you're probably making 14, 15, 16%. That's what I've seen with the clients that I've sold properties to. Think of the investors in 2006 that I was selling homes in Dallas for $40,000, $50,000. Those same homes now are worth $175,000, $200,000. Rents have gone from $700 a month up to $1,100 a month.Ey've seen huge growth and never hit that downturn. And so one of the reasons that the wealthiest Americans keep to that 30-30-30 diversification is because they're able, no matter what happens with the market, no matter what happens with real estate, they're always making money somewhere. And so you as an investor who maybe you have a 401k because that's what they gave you at your job, part of our goal today is to educate you and have you think like the wealthiest Americans. There truly is a game of gold-plated monopoly that's being played in this country. And until you start playing the game, you're never able to take advantage of the benefits and protect yourself. And I guarantee you that some of you watching this remember 2008 and seeing that huge drop in your retirement accounts. And so Dennis and I aren't proposing that you take all of your money out of the market. I have money in the market. Dennis has money in the market. Fred has a really interesting perspective because he came from, several decades of full-time military service, special forces. He was on the front line, living in Afghanistan, protecting us. Fred, you retired, and then you had an interesting combination of a pension, a thrift savings plan, and a 401k. Talk about that kind of journey, that educational journey for you.
Yeah, exactly. I had, so if anybody has, wondering about their accounts. So yeah, after I retired, I had 2 different 401ks from 2 civilian jobs. I had a thrift savings program that was part of a military savings. And then I had a regular IRA like everybody else, has. And I really, I'd never had any time either to invest in learning how to invest and or I thought, like a lot of people do, that you have to manage. It requires a lot of time to manage passive real estate. So obviously when I met you and Dennis, the light bulb went on, and I moved all 4 of those accounts into a self-directed IRA and began buying houses. And it just, completely revolutionized the way that my retirement looks. And in fact, I still get my military check every month, go out and salute the mailbox. But,
That tax-free check that I didn't even realize that until yesterday.
but being able to build another essentially retirement check, and that's what people don't understand about stocks. To get the money out, eventually you have to sell them, right? You have to eat the seed corn to get the money out, right? The house just keeps on, especially if it's in a Roth, it's like a tax-free ATM. It just keeps pumping out money. So I would encourage everybody to at least look into this as a way to change what their retirement looks like right now, because it's just a great tool.
Yeah. So, Dennis, you have some slides prepared for us. I'd love for you to share those going forward. We have that presentation up on the screen for the people watching. Starting with this is a good time to invest in hard assets slide.
Can you? Okay, I have. Let me pull up my slides, because there we go. And I'll just. All right. So basically, yeah. And this is a good time to invest in hard assets. And the reason is, I think we've left out, or Aaron left out, the biggest reason why housing is such a wonderful investment right now. And that is, there has been an underbuilding of new housing in this country for 8 consecutive years. And that's meant that if you have property to rent, you're going to find a tenant almost before you get the ink dry on the ad. I personally rented a house, bought a house in Michigan, and put it up for after we did some cleanup, put it up for rent on a Tuesday, and we had a lease in hand signed on Wednesday, and that's not uncommon. There's just a shortage of property out there, so it's a wonderful time to invest in hard assets. Now, that brings up the question. Let's go to the next slide. Yep. However, while the value of your investment may increase, I want to go to the next slide, taxes on the earnings may be increasing faster than ever. And so what investors have today is a dilemma they've not had before. The dilemma is, I can find a ton of good investments in real estate right now, because investing in residential real estate is just gold-plated right now. There's just not enough housing. Yet, when I earn the money, the taxes on the earnings are increasing like crazy. And if we go to the next slide, basically, we're heading into a tax storm, okay? And I'm gonna go right to the next slide. It's got a picture of Uncle Sam picking your pocket. At the eye of the storm is who? Is you and I, the successful investor. We are the ones that are going to be taxed the most. Okay, the Biden administration has already proposed several taxes. So everything that we're going to talk about from here on in is not made up. This is a proposal of taxes that has come from the administration. Every proposal that I'm going to talk about is already out of the administrative office and is already in committee. Now, committee hasn't acted yet, but the committee will. So the tax proposals that the administration has have already been sent to committee. So we go to slide 8. It says that one of the first proposals is, the administration has proposed the elimination of Section 1031. Now, those of you who are not familiar with it, 1031 is a very common tax deferral technique used by real estate investors. It allows you to sell one piece of real estate, buy another piece of real estate, and not pay any income tax because you rolled your investment forward. If Congress eliminates or even makes more restrictive the 1031 exchange, it's going to be very, very costly tax-wise to many investors. The next one I want to talk about is they're going to reduce the highest bracket to start at $400,000. Basically this is, Biden did run on, a very, very reliable tactic. And a very reliable tactic is soak the rich. But he then defined rich as what you and I used to call successful. Rich, you're making a couple million a year. Now they're saying, oh no, you're rich if you make 400 a year. Well, there's a lot of people on this call. I'm looking at the numbers. There's a lot of people on this call who are, pretty close to 400 a year already, and things are going to go up. All right. Besides decreasing the maximum tax rate to $400,000, the tax threshold to $400,000, and these are all in committee right now. We're going to increase the maximum tax rate back up to 39.6%. I want to pause a moment for 39.6%. 39.6% sounds like a lot of money. Well, it is a lot of money. And I smile when I look at that, because notice they didn't say the maximum tax rate is 40%. That 40% is so big. I'll just call it 39.6. It's kind of like, if we said we're going to have a $2 trillion, COVID bailout package, we're saying that's crazy. So we'll call it the $1.9 trillion bailout package. Oh, that's okay. So, this is a standard, government tactic. Besides the lower threshold of starting, besides that maximum bracket being 39.6, the administration wants to retain the 3.8% net investment income tax. Now, for those of you who don't remember what the net investment income tax is, that started back an administration ago, and it was put in place for one purpose. It was put in place to help pay for the Affordable Care Act. But we all know the Affordable Care Act is losing money very fast. That's not a big secret. So what do we think is going to happen to that 3.8% net investment income tax? It's probably going to increase. I'm still going through what's already in committee. For households with an income of over $1 million, the administration has proposed eliminating long-term capital gains tax rate. Now, I have benefited from long-term capital gains rates. Many people on this call have, that if we hold an asset for more than a year and we sell it at a profit, we're taxed at the long-term capital gains tax rate, which is much lower. However, if your household income, according to this proposal, is over $1 million a year, there is a proposal to eliminate long-term capital gains tax rate. Now, $1 million, oh my God, that's a lot of money. Well, let's think about it. If you have a good year at work and you sell one or two well-performing investments, guess what? You're at $1 million pretty quickly, and you've lost that long-term capital gain tax benefit. So these are all in committee. Okay, next one. Charge an additional 12.4% Social Security tax on all earnings over $400,000. Well, wait a second. I pay, as an employee, 6.2% income tax. My employer, Social Security tax. My employer pays another 6.2% Social Security tax. There's the 12.4, up to an earnings of $128,000. And we all know that the more you earn and the more you pay, the higher your payout is at retirement. That's nice. However, what this proposal talks about is, wait a second, we don't care. It'll still be 12.4% on the first 128, but then for those of you who made a 400,000, it'll be an additional 12.4% on everything above. 12.4 is a lot of money. 12.4% on everything above $400,000. I can see Aaron getting uncomfortable in this chair as we speak. All right. The point is that it's not going to increase our payout when we retire. That's just 12.4 going into the pool because Social Security is broke. So these are all big numbers that are in committee right now. I didn't make up anything. So let's go to that next slide and take a look what we have. For households earning over $1 million, the tax rate is going to be 39.6%. You make an investment and sell it at a profit, there's a tax rate of 3.8, but I'll watch that one go up. You made over $1 million, so over 400,000, so your earnings are taxed at 12.4 on Social Security. And a state income tax, and this is a plug number. I just put in 5% because we had to put in a plug number because I know that some people on this tape are listening to people are living in states that don't have a state income tax, and so your number would be 0. But other people, like myself, I live in Illinois, so I would pay 6.9%. And there are states that have a graduated income tax that go up to 13.3%. So this 5% is a plug number. We had to put in something, adjust it for yourself, okay? Because you know where you live. So let's add them up. One more slide. Here we go. 39.6 plus 3.8 plus 12.4 plus 5. And I make a profit on my transaction. If I do it with my money or you do it with your money, 60.8% goes to the government. I'll just leave that up for a second.
That's heavy.
That's heavy, that's right. So the investment earned 100% and the government is going to take 60.8. But don't worry, you get to keep 39.2%. How much of the risk did you take? 100%. How much of the money did you put up? 100%. How much money do you get to keep after your partner takes 60.8%? 39.2%. So we are headed into this storm that I talked about at the beginning, where real estate investments are the best they've been in years and years, and yet taxes are going to gobble up the interest. So, however, there's a simple solution, and that is make that same investment inside a Roth IRA. And it's going to provide you with very different results. Because in a Roth IRA, the investment will earn 100%, and your Roth IRA keeps what? 100%. And then distributes that to you with no taxes, but you do have to attain the age of 59 and a half, and it must be a Roth account for 5 years. But, 59 and a half comes pretty quick, and 5 years passes pretty fast too. So you really, as an investor, have a choice of paying 60.8%, the same investment, paying 60.8% to the Internal Revenue Service or paying 0%. Now, you do have to have a Roth IRA, but as Aaron said at the beginning, they cost $195 to start. So, it's the $195 may be worth it. And I really think that any investor who is considering investing in this tax environment, which none of us see as getting better, should really consider using a simple Roth IRA to make that investment. Okay, Aaron?
Yeah, I get every month people struggle to get their brain around this concept. Like I'll say, look, if you own a rental in an IRA, you don't have to pay any taxes on the rental income. And they'll say, well, that can't be right. And I remind them, I say, well, are you paying taxes on your stocks? If you sell stocks in your IRA or your 401k right now? And they're like, oh yeah, that's a good point. If I bought a house, fixed it up and sold it inside my IRA. There was no capital gains. You don't file a tax return. You don't pay taxes on the rents. And that's a massive benefit. In fact, Dennis and I were at a seminar a couple of years ago, and this CPA guy was selling a tax package, and he said to the investors, hey, you should cash out your IRAs, because if you own real estate in an IRA, there's no tax benefits. And Dennis and I went up to him afterwards and said, wait a minute, there are tax benefits. He said, no, you can't depreciate a property inside an IRA. You don't, you can't expense anything off. And I said, yeah, but you don't pay taxes. That's the benefit. The biggest benefit in the world is no tax return. And I said, the only thing they don't need is you, Mr. CPA. He didn't like Dennis and I for reminding him of that.
No, he didn't. No.
But that's a huge. Not only is diversification important, and like we talked about with the potential downturn, but when you look at the tax benefits of owning real estate in a 401k or an IRA, then it really becomes sexy, because now if you're making, if you own a rental with just money outside of your retirement account and you make 8% on the net rents, well, then you still have to pay taxes on that rental income. Whereas if you make 8% on a rental, you're not paying any taxes on the rents that are in there at the end of the year. And so it's really like you're making 10, 11, 12%. It's like your return goes up. Because if you have $8,000 in the account, in your investment account that's non-retirement, well then after Uncle Sam gets through with you, there may only be $4,000 or $5,000 in there. And so a net $8,000 outside of your retirement account, you got to make 10, 11, or 12 grand. And so once you start getting your brain around that, the tax benefits, the diversification, and the higher returns, and the lower fees, it becomes really a no-brainer. Now, Dennis, a question that I get all the time from people is, if I set one up, I can only put like $6,000 a year in there. Why that? That's not a lot of money to contribute. What do you say to that?
Well, their point is very well taken. It is $6,000 you're on an IRA, or it is $7,000 if you're age 50 or over. So that's not a lot of money. If you do have a business, we can easily set up, pardon me, what's called a SEP IRA, where the limit goes up to $57,000 per year. It's 25% of earnings up to $57,000. That's a lot of money to set aside. Now, of course, a SEP IRA isn't a Roth IRA, and it's very interesting to me. We have a couple of clients, I think 5, who earn a good living, and they'll call us every year, the first week of January, second week of January, we get the same phone call. What's the most I can put in the IRA this year? And we'll tell them, this year was 57,000. And, they know they're going to max out the amount, and they'll just write us a check of $57,000. But what they really want is a Roth IRA, because they want all that money to come out tax-free. And so we simply take it in as a SEP, so we can take in that much money into their account. And then we convert that to a Roth. So you can get a great deal of money into a Roth through a SEP IRA. Also transfers. I mean, if you have an old 401k at work, I can only make a contribution of $6,000 or $7,000 depending on my age. However, I have $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 in my old 401k. No problem. Transfers are unlimited.
Yeah, a lot of times people will say, well, I have an old 401k from a previous job, or I have an IRA. It's got $100,000 in it. Do I have to pay the taxes if I set up a self-directed IRA with you? And it's not a withdrawal, is it, Dennis? It's a transfer.
No, it's a transfer. It's one retirement account to another retirement account. And it's called a trustee transfer. I don't want to tell you that we're doing anything wrong, because we literally do this probably 3 to 4 times a day. So we just do lots of these. They're completely a tax-free event.
And that's only $195 to set up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, partnering is something that I know, Fred, you partnered on some deals that you did, correct?
Yeah, I set up, the other thing I don't think a lot of people know about is you can set up Roth IRAs for your children if they have income, right? So if they're working, or if they're employed in your business and have income, you can set up IRAs for your kids, and then partner with them. So they may not have a lot of money, but they can buy 10% of your next house with their smaller portion until they build up some steam. And if you start young enough, and as Dennis knows, I've got a 15 or 18-month-old son and 2 4-month-old girls. So we've got IRAs started young, and hopefully they've got quite a bill by the time they know what that is.
Yeah, all of my kids have Roth IRAs, and my IRA will partner with their IRAs. We'll own a piece of property together, and like Fred said, if my son's IRA owns 5% of the deal, then every month 5% of that rent check gets split to his IRA, and 5% and 95% goes to mine. Percentage ownership, percentage split. If we sell the deal, 5% of the profits go to his IRA along with his money back, so on and so forth. And so partnering allows you to take a small IRA or to set a small IRA up and grow it, because there's a whole bunch of different scenarios that you can partner under that we're going to give you access to some education to where you can get that put together. In fact, I want to jump over to your website really quickly, Dennis, and show them the section that you've put together, a really cool section called the Investor's Kit. Now, at iraclub.org, Dennis and his team have put together, if you're listening to this today and you're saying, man, I'm interested, I'd like to learn more, or maybe you're like, I already know I want to set up a self-directed IRA because I'd like to put some real estate inside my IRA, then Dennis has put together a fantastic kit. I want to break this down for you because we're going to give you a code today to get this for 50% off, for basically $100. Now, you can see here it's a $1,000 value. You can get it on their website right now for $195. But we're going to give you a 50% off code that you can go to iraclub.org and log in and get this yourself today. Let me break down what we have in here. First of all, there's an IRA Club video series. It's how many videos is it, Dennis?
I think I lost count. I think it's 16.
Yeah, so, Dennis, keep in mind, guys, Dennis is an author, so he just produces, he's prolific. He just produces videos and books and articles. You're going to want to check out IRA Club's website, but they're going to give you a video, and let me just go through some of these titles, because really, for basically, what is it, $99, you're going to get all of this today for $99. So there's an introduction to the IRA Club. What is a self-directed IRA? What's a Roth IRA? Partnering, which we just referenced. Naming your beneficiary. How to buy a rental with your IRA. Lending. You can do loans to businesses from your IRA. Prohibited transactions, which you can't do with your IRA. Short-term rentals, Airbnbs and vacation homes. Imagine owning an Airbnb inside of your IRA. So on and on. Some really great topics, informational. Dennis?
And I want to say there's a little short video in there called Get a Free House from Your Roth IRA. I will tell you, it's a short little video. It's a simple topic. It's worth the price of admission. Because every time we have somebody who gets a free house out of their IRA, it becomes as a surprise to them. It is surprisingly simple, and there's a video on that topic in that kit.
Now, in addition, for this $99, you're going to get a free IRA account set up. So Dennis and his team will set it up for you so that you can transfer money in. You can transfer money in from your 401k, or you can start funding in your contributions every year. And so with that, you'll get a free copy of Dennis's book, Make Money During the Biden Administration, some of what he was talking about in his slides. That's going to be included in that. You'll get a 15-minute direct consultation with one of the representatives from the IRA Club. You'll get a white glove experience. Dennis, can you talk about what the white glove experience is from the IRA Club?
Again, it kind of goes back to that very first discussion, pardon me, that we had, and that was we started as a club, and there are a lot of self-directed IRA companies that are short-staffed, and this is how they're going to make their profit, and the way they'll make their profit is to keep the staff short, and it is not uncommon to be on hold for an hour or to have their call not answered at all, and wait for them to email you back. Quite often you'll get somebody who is not very experienced, unfortunately, in the topic. IRA Club really has gone out of its way to make sure that everyone who picks up the telephone is well trained. And we have a goal here at the office of we answer every call by the second ring. So you're going to get your questions answered. You're going to get them answered promptly and courteously.
Yep. And then the added bonus is once the account is open, funded, and ready to invest, IRA Club will take it a step further. They'll mail you all of the new member brochures, pamphlets, guides on investment options, an investor kit, which will include a tote, IRA Club pens, notepads, a portable charger, so a swag. You get a swag bag.
I didn't know we were doing that.
Yeah, that's all. It's all included today, Dennis. Sorry, buddy.
I didn't know that.
Now, again, like I said, normally to get your self-directed IRA set up, it's usually $195. Today it's half of that. So you get the IRA set up, you get the videos, you get a copy of Dennis's book, you get the white glove service, you get the swag bag, $99. And actually, Dennis, you have Rama's there. Is it $99 or $95? What will they actually be charged if they put the code in?
You know what? I am not sure. I think it is 95, but I'm not positive. But I believe it's 95.
And then what's the coupon code? So I've clicked on.
And the coupon code is, you come to our website, and there'll be a place, and Ramos has left the room, that's why I'm a little stumbling. But you go to the site and you put in the name Alpine, all capitals, ALPINE, or you can just drop a note to Colonel Fred, and he will link in and let us know exactly who to send the kits to.
So I'll walk you through it again since we're on the website here. So going all the way back to the home screen, and maybe Fred, you can type, yep, he typed it in there. So iraclub.org is the website.
Our website, mm-hmm.
And then you can see up here on the top, it's called Investors Kit. You're going to want to click on Investors Kit. You will scroll down, and you will click here to start.
You say it.
Hey, Aaron, how are you, bud?
Hey,
Just
bud.
joined the call.
Is it Alpine?
You just either you could go get started here, and then once you put your information, your name, address, credit card info, there's an actual button for the promo code, or you could just put Alpine, all caps.
Yep.
And that's it, and just hit submit.
And will it charge them 99 or 95? I couldn't remember.
97.5.
So it takes 50% off the $195. You'll be charged $97.50. Will be your reduced code. So you'll just fill it out here, put it in Alpine. If you have any questions, Fred's going to put his email address in the chat bar, fred@alpinecs.com. You can certainly email him, or you can click right on Contact Us from the IRA Club's website and say, hey, I'm trying to get the Alpine discount. What do I need to do? And they can walk you through it. But
of course,
we've really tried to simplify it for you here.
Terrific. Thank you.
Go ahead, Dennis.
I was going to say, Aaron, why don't we talk about Alpine a little bit? We have a few minutes left, and what you're doing.
Yeah, the last thing I want to highlight really is, a lot of, obviously my company sells real estate investments to investors. So we get investors who say, man, I want to do more in real estate. I have $100,000, $200,000, $400,000 in my retirement account. I've never thought about using that for some real estate. I'd love to do a couple of deals from you. And we're very busy. We sell out of all of our deals every month. The website for my company, and let me just show you here on Chrome, is alpinecapitalsolutions.com. Feel free to check us out there. We have samples of deals that we've sold to investors. The point being that we're very, very, very busy selling properties to a lot of investors. But I wanted to mention quickly, but with the few minutes that we have left, talk about why there's so much opportunity right now in real estate. And I have on the screen here 4 big factors of the real estate market that are creating what I believe is there's never been a better time to get into real estate. I've been doing real estate for 21 years. I bought my first investment property back in 2000. I rode out the last crash of 2008. I have 400 people working for me, managing almost 3,000 properties in 5 different states, almost $250 million worth of property under management. And so I feel like I have a really good finger on the pulse of what's happening in real estate. And in my 21 years, I've never seen the amount of opportunity that we're seeing right now. And these 4 factors on this screen are contributing to why you as an investor should consider setting up a self-directed IRA and starting to invest in it. And if you have enough money, to put some property in it immediately. The first big factor is that we have a construction shortage of new construction. When you look at 2008, the last time the market crashed, we were overbuilt about 4 million properties. But since that crash for the last 13 years, builders have consistently been underbuilding between 400,000 to 600,000 units per year. And so now, 13 years later, we have a construction shortage both for residential properties and for rental properties. Neither have been built to keep up with demand. And maybe some of you have seen in your community where the price of homes have just gone up a ridiculous amount. I mean, it was just 7 years ago that the average home price in America was about $165,000. It's now up to $240,000. And wages certainly haven't gone up. And so it's becoming more and more difficult for the average American to get into a starter home as prices have gone to $200,000 and above over the past few years, and wages haven't kept up with that. And so what that's doing is it's forcing people at unprecedented levels to stay as renters. Now, for the landlords, for people like me who do investment properties, that's a beautiful thing. If you don't own rental property and you have money that's invested in the market and you've been making great returns for the last 12 or 13 years, why not diversify some of those profits into real estate, into rental properties, when we have this shortage of rental properties? And you saw the chart that I put on there earlier showing how rents have just continued to go up and up every year. And we don't see that changing until we start building more rentals. And when we look at rent, one of my favorite websites for researching what's happening in the U.S. Economy when it comes to real estate, Harvard has a joint center for housing studies that I love. And we're almost at crisis level with affordable housing for rentals and for homeowners. So much so that about 3 years ago, I started really getting into modular homes, manufactured homes, mobile homes, because you can build a 1,300 square foot mobile home, manufactured home in a matter of weeks. A 1,300 square foot stick-built home, traditional home by a developer, is going to take, at best case scenario, a year to build. And so seeing how quickly they could build those homes on the assembly line, I know, Dennis isn't going to want to move into a double wide anytime soon. But there's a lot of people looking to just go from being a renter and flushing their rent down the toilet every month to getting a foothold as a homeowner. And so modular homes have become a very interesting, a very hot segment of the economy. And the reason that whole area of real estate has become hot is because we're not building enough. And so the construction shortage is massive. It's great for investors, and it's really great for people looking to get into real estate. Now, the other, I list some of the other factors on there. Wages haven't kept up. Student loan debt is making it hard for people to buy homes. Rental inventory has dropped. But the other big factor has been COVID. So COVID has had some really interesting impacts. Let me throw this up here for you. COVID has created some really interesting opportunities for real estate investors that did not exist a year ago. So flipping has been hot, wholesaling, mobile, like I just mentioned, new construction, pre-foreclosure, multifamily, Airbnb, and then there's also been some areas that have really been crushed by COVID. And what's interesting to me as a real estate investor is when I look back to 2008, 2009, when the market crashed the last time. It was tough watching property values drop, but what didn't drop was my rents. My rents continued to climb. And in 2009, 2010, 2011, there were huge opportunities that presented themselves for me, for my business, that came out of what people call a black swan event, which was the last crash. COVID has been another black swan event, and over the last year, I've seen massive opportunities as an investor in these areas. And so, your interest may be passive. You may say, I have a career, I have a job. I wouldn't mind owning some rentals in my IRA. But, possibly you've entertained the idea of getting into active investing, and those segments of the active area of real estate are interesting as well. And so I can definitively say that in my 21 years, I've never seen this much opportunity, whether you're an active investor who wants to do this part-time or maybe make this your career, or whether you're just a passive investor that wants to own real estate. That's the why behind why we see so many people set up self-directed IRAs because they say, I want to get into real estate and I'd love to diversify some of my IRA and 401k money and get some real estate in those accounts, because they see that the fees go down, the returns go up, you're not paying taxes. There's just a whole massive amount of benefits that exist out there for investors. And that's what Dennis and I have found in the almost decade that we've been working together. And so we appreciate those of you that have joined us live today. And if you're watching this recorded, feel free. That code will work just fine at IRA Club's website. Just go to iraclub.org, click on Investors Kit, scroll down, click here to start, put in your name, your phone number, your email. Do you have a retirement account, your address, your credit card? They will charge you $97.50. That $97.50 will include free setup on your own self-directed IRA, the 16-part videos that are there, the swag bag, a copy of Dennis's book. What am I missing? Oh, and a consultation and the White Club service. So it's really a fantastic offer. In the coupon code to get that discount, just type in all caps Alpine. That's my company's Alpine. You can see it over my shoulder here. And what are we missing, Colonel Fred? Anything? We good?
No, I just make one more note on here. If you're watching this online and you didn't get the links or you didn't get the codes or anything, just send me an email, fred@alpinecs.com, and I'll get you hooked up.
Yeah. Dennis, any last words to add before we finish up today?
I think this is a good, wonderful session. Aaron neglected to talk about the fact that once a month he does a 3-day class in Indianapolis and just talks about real estate. And if you are interested in real estate, whether you want to work with Aaron or not, there's no better thing to do than to spend 3 days with a person who's been doing it for 25 years.
Thank you very much. I got Fred at alpinecs.com is the email address for this. But your easiest way, don't bug Fred. Go to IRA Club and click on Contact Us or call him if you have any questions. Say, I just watched the special. I want the Alpine discount. I want the $97.50. Send me my swag. Because Fred doesn't have the swag in Idaho. All the swag's in Chicago. So only hit Fred up if you're in crisis. He's good at crisis. Anyway, that's the time that we have today. Thank you for joining us. We look forward to having you get more education about this, and certainly reach out to us once you are set up with IRA Club. We have a lot more that we'd love to share with you at that point, but that's all the time that we have for today. We really want to stay within time. And then a copy of this will be posted at Alpine Capital Solutions YouTube channel. So if you'd like to rewatch this or share a copy of the link, it's just going to be open on Alpine Capital Solutions YouTube channel, so you can rewatch it and or share it with somebody else. So thanks for the time today, guys. Thanks for joining me. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Good session, Aaron.